Hey everybody, this is Ron, and today I'm going to be talking about Nosferatu, the 2024 version directed by Robert Eggers. I know I'm very late on this, so I'm going to do something a little different and really just go over the notes that I took when I was finished watching the film in theaters. Just before I get into it, I'm a pretty big fan of Robert Eggers stuff so far. I really like The Witch. The Lighthouse, I didn't totally love, but I feel like I have to see it a couple more times. And I really enjoyed The Northman as well. It was a cool Viking movie that felt very fresh, and all of his movies feel fresh because he really does a lot of research and goes into the folklore aspects of these stories or genres that we've seen so many times. And going back to the old material makes this stuff new again, if that makes sense. So I really like that about his filmmaking. And I was really excited for this because Dracula is one of my favorite novels. And I know this is Nosferatu, but I'm just kind of itching for a little bit of a retelling of that story. So it's finally out, and I'm going to read some of my notes. And I know people have been talking about this movie so much, and everybody's obsessed with it now, it seems. At least online, it seems like that. But I'm going to tell you what I thought about it. So first of all, I loved the old school title card design in the beginning before the little prologue starts. It was reminiscent of many classic horror films and really set the tone. The font for the captions were also well done. A lot of thought was put into every aspect of this film. The pacing was great. It reminded me of the Hammer horror stuff, even though it was slightly longer than most of those films. The sound design was awesome. Even little things like the crosses clinking together before Hutter goes over a bridge, or the creaking of the ship. Orlok's voice booming and reverberating around his castle was a nice touch. The movie definitely had a great aesthetic. I personally loved the Transylvanian village inn scenes. It was a great choice not having any of the villagers speak English. I also got a kick out of hearing the word strigoi, or at least I thought I heard one of the women say that when she was putting garlic up on the window. And strigoi is basically an old Romanian word for vampire. The dialogue was very strong, especially Willem Dafoe's lines, and you could tell he really got a kick out of delivering them. I really want to go see it again because I heard one of the women at the monastery say something about Orlok and the word Solomonar, which is another term from Romanian folklore. I sort of missed what she was saying about it because the movie moved along pretty fast. At least to me, it felt like that in the theater. In Romanian folklore, the Solomonari could control the weather. This is why Orlok could control the weather on the ship when he says, "Increase thy thunders." And Dracula could control the weather in the novel as well, so that was a cool touch. The more I think about the design of Orlok, the more I like it. The mustache was a great touch that I wish more adaptations of Dracula would use, because Dracula has a mustache in the novel. His voice was great too, very unsettling. I loved the disorienting nature of the castle scenes. That was definitely influenced by Coppola's Dracula, in that way at least. There was a lot of complex camera work, but not in a distracting way. I was not expecting Orlok to catch the pickaxe and get up from his sarcophagus. I thought he was just going to glance at Hutter or something and still be confined to it, kind of like in Dracula. So that was actually surprising. And it was a cool scene too. You know when you go downstairs at your house and you run up the stairs real quick as a kid thinking something is chasing you? That's how that scene felt when Orlok and the wolves were going after Hutter, and it was very well done. I've heard some people say that they didn't like Aaron Taylor Johnson's performance, but I thought it was fine. He hams it up a tiny bit, but I'm guessing that was what the script called for. I also thought his side story was very very heartbreaking and dark. There were a lot of long takes in the movie. I've heard writers talk about invisible hand writing, where you get wrapped up in the story and don't necessarily pay attention to the author's style. To me, this is invisible hand directing. Obviously, Eggers' style is still there, but you know what I mean. This movie is less about jump scares or any other modern horror tropes, and it's all about atmosphere because obviously it's a gothic horror tale. Lily Rose Depp does a great job as the protagonist. I was relieved that it wasn't really a love story in the Coppola Dracula sense, where Mina is this reincarnated version of Dracula's wife or something. I'm glad they didn't do that story. That idea was always kind of lame to me. Ellen basically tried to summon a guardian angel when she was younger, and she got Orlok instead. That is way better than the Coppola story, in my opinion, because Dracula was never in love with any of the women in the novel. The original Dracula is a straight up predator, and Orlok is definitely a savage monster in this as well. I was happy with that. There were some vicious scenes, especially when Orlok kills the children. That hit me hard because I have 2 kids, so it was pretty disturbing. I was nervous about the love story because a lot of people were talking about that and the romance in it, and I thought it would be like the Coppola stuff, but it wasn't. It was perfect. Orlok feeds from the chest of his victims instead of the neck because that's how it was described in some of the earliest folklore involving vampires. And this older take on vampire lore is refreshing. I think one of the only negatives for me was that sometimes I couldn't understand exactly what Orlok was saying. I'm definitely going to watch it with subtitles at home when the Blu-ray comes out so I don't miss anything. The scene with Ellen and Anna in bed together reminded me a little bit of Carmilla, which is a great little vampire novel that predates Dracula. Willem Dafoe's character was entertaining. I was relieved that he didn't turn out to be the real bad guy, with Orlok being portrayed as this misunderstood monster or something. He was very eccentric and had a deep understanding of the occult. He also really drives home the fairy tale aspect of this story when he does his research on how to destroy Orlok. It is very artfully done, but also maintains that Hammer B-movie influence. It falls into the category of an A movie disguised as a B movie to me. The first Alien film is a good example of this. It also had a solid musical score. I've listened to the vinyl a decent amount of times now, and my favorite track is Daybreak, which is the 8-minute piece at the end of the movie. The ending was surprisingly similar to the previous films. The sunlight doesn't make Orlok vanish or turn to dust like some of the other vampire films, which was a nice choice and makes for a haunting last shot. So those are my initial notes on this movie. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to see it again, and maybe I'll have a different review when I see it multiple times, but that's just my initial reaction to it. And it seems like it's been getting pretty great reviews, and it's pretty much the most popular movie as of this video. So I'm happy for Robert Eggers. I think it's awesome, and I can't wait to see what he does next. So please be sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content, and thanks for watching.